How you doing? Thank you all so much for joining us to make sure that you are taking care of your money. We were saying that we believe in a double portion this year. We're believing that we're going to go and receive a double portion in 2022 at Newbies Grove. And so with that, you have to do practical things. So that's why I have Miss Nikki Lewis. I feel old because she's actually one of my former students when I taught high school, dude. Oh, dude, I think that was my first year teaching. I think I was like 22, 23. But she was one of my singers, man. So I'm feeling old. I mean, at least it went elementary school. Right. But anyway, she's going to be here to teach us about money and how to take care of our money, how to invest our money. I know some of us are doing very, very well, but it's something that you may hear that you may have not heard before. And again, before we start too, and we have another investor mastermind. The next one will be Saturday, January the 29th at 10 a.m. for those who want to make money in real estate. So it's so many different ways and how to make money. And there's other ways on how you can save your money and hide your money and tax shelter them, if you will, legally. You understand? So without further ado, we're going to give it over to Miss Nikki Lewis and also her friend, Miss Kimberly, and they will be leading us on today. If you have any questions, if you write them in the chat or raise your hand towards the end or whatnot, they will answer questions, and you'll be able to unmute yourself to ask the question once we call on you when you raise your hand. All right. Without further ado, y'all give some claps or finger snaps for these two young ladies.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Willard. I really appreciate you and giving me the opportunity to speak, in front of the church and have an opportunity to share this knowledge, because without sharing is caring. So that's what it's all about. So I am going to share my screen. Once you give me that permission, I'll be able to share. And then we will, get started. And I'm I hope you guys have a pen and paper. Basically, what I'm going to do is go through a presentation. And again, my name is Nikki Lewis. That's my pronunciation. I do see a couple people getting admitted, even though I'm the host, but I will definitely admit them as I'm going through. All right, so let me go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second here so we can get started. All right, thumbs up if you see my screen, okay? Okay, perfect. So when it comes to our mission, right? The mission is simple, okay? Which is to educate every American family on the importance of not only stewardship, but the management of God's most important resource. And what is that? And that is money. And our vision is also to basically for every believer to become financially independent. So as the founder of American Dreamers Group, my goal is to share the mission and vision with 10,000 families to be educated about money by 2023. I know it's a lofty goal, right? But I believe if each one can show one and teach one and share the exact things that I'm also going to share with you, we can be able to secure this mission. Okay. So you'll see a few things that I'm going to be talking about when it comes to different concepts. I also threw this in here for you guys because I feel like, there is several biblical principles that you should also follow, which is, of course, God, is the owner of everything. And your purpose in life is to also glorify God. And he does want you to be financially stable, right? So did you know that 6 out of 38 of Jesus' parables is about money and possessions? Some people were like, wow, that's pretty interesting. A lot of people don't really highlight that, but I thought this was some great fun facts. And 1 out of 10 verses in the gospel actually deals with money. And I feel that they're tied together when it comes to, money and also when it comes to God as well. Second, I'll be admitting people as I'm talking a little bit. So the financial statistics on the richest country in the earth. Do you know we are the richest country on the earth? 1 second. And 2/3 of Americans would struggle literally to save almost $1,000 in emergency funds, right? 40% of Americans have at least less than $10,000 saved. If you have less than $10,000 saved in your account, then you actually fall within that category. Okay, second, keeps clicking. Let me admit, all right. And also 43% of Americans spend more than they receive each month and actually borrow more when it comes to your credit cards, right? So we spend more than we actually earn. That's why we actually end up ourselves and we're in debt. When it comes to budgeting and having an emergency fund, you want to make sure that you have something set aside in case of emergencies. It's super, super critical, especially during these times when it comes to COVID and things are not open. And, if you lost your job or whatever the case may be, you want to make sure that you have your own emergency fund set aside. Now, there's two types of people, right? You can live in either one of these circles when it comes to that, right? So it's, for example, whether your income is your debt. One second, let me go back. It just clicked off. Your income, you save, invest, that will equal one thing. That's your wealth, right? Income, debt to spend will only equal being broke. You can only decide whether you want to be wealthy or you want to be broke, right? So which circle do you want to live in? You want to live in the wealthy circle? Do you want to live in a circle where you don't have abundance when it comes to money? So keep that in mind as well. Now, there's also ways that you can decrease expenses, and I'm also going to teach you a couple of concepts towards the end of this presentation. But you want to be able to decrease your expenses in a way that, don't always buy the name brand. You can shop with your own store brands, plan your meals, shop with a list, not having impulse buying. Americans are very impulsive when it comes to their spending. And they usually want to be able to spend more than they have. So they can use their credit cards to do, things like that, spending lavish vacations and all of that, right? And there's also ways that you can also increase your income, right? So if you want to be able to increase your income, you can do that to rental income, to profit income. There's earned income. There's royalty, patent payments. You can get that through capital gains, right? Also through dividends. There's several ways to increase your income so that you don't have to worry about your spending habits. And then you want to be able to allot the ways that you spend in different accounts so that you can be able to manage those appropriately. So when it comes to also debt management, the reason for the increase in debt when it comes to our lifestyle is the consumptive lifestyles, right? The ease of credit. Credit is so readily available. You can normally get an American Express card, 10,000, get one of these debit cards for, Discover very easily. So you want to be able to, one second, I'm also admitting people as I'm talking to you guys too, so people are still pouring in. Thank you so much for everyone who's joining us. Don't forget to just put your computer on mute or your phones on mute. Okay. And again, I'm Nakai Lewis, and thank you again, Dr. Willard Maxwell, for inviting me to speak to you guys today. All right. So the reasons for increased debt, right? There's the eating out. We love to eat, especially people in the South, right? We love us some food. So that is also a reason for us increasing debt. If we cook more at home, we can also save that money and be able to put it into a better vehicle that's going to allow us to have that lifestyle in the future. Sometimes you got to take back a little bit to take a step forward. Okay. And a lot of the red flags that happen in our life is that when we have trouble with debt, when we regularly pay our bills late, that is a red flag. If that's something that you do and you're not able to really pay your bill on time, that's something that you should address, especially for 2022. If you feel that you're consistently living on credit, you're literally going from paycheck to paycheck and you're worrying about finances and you're worrying about money, this is also a huge red flag that you are also in trouble with debt. And you need to seek and speak to a financial professional to help you with that. Okay. Now, there are steps that you can get you out of debt, right? First, you want to see the problem. You want to admit it. You want to make the decision, right? You also want to continue with any unnecessary credit purchases and determine your overall financial situation. And also create a repayment plan. So when it comes to life insurance, right? Life insurance is a specific contract that'll allow you, the policyholder, in which insurance, one second, there's still people coming in. Thank you again for everyone joining us. It keeps popping up. So, and again, it is your birthright, right? What is the difference between an inheritance, life insurance, and your birthright? This all three of these are composed together in a way that, God forbid something happens to you, is your family protected? Do they have enough to survive without you in the picture? Have you considered what that number would be? And how could you figure that out? We do have a way that you can figure it out, and I will share that with you tonight. Now, the top 3 reasons why people don't get life insurance is because they say, oh, it's too expensive. I can't afford it. Oh, actually, no, my car note's more important. Paying the house is more important. But these things are all important, but so is also life insurance. 54% say that, they don't feel that they have as much as they need right now. And to have protection is one of the top 3 reasons as to why you should do it, because you want to make sure, God forbid something happens to you, that you're able to provide and leave something not only as a legacy, but a way so that your family can also be taken care of. So there's actually 2 types of life insurance, which I'm going to teach you today. If you don't know, so term is this. So let's say term is something that expires. So whether you can get a 15-year term or a 30-year term policy, that term policy pretty much covers you for a certain amount of period. And usually people use the term insurance for things like, a mortgage or, specific things that you want a specific term. Okay. Permanent insurance allows you to be covered for the entire lifespan. So those are the 2 differences. Term insurance, however, is usually cheaper. And permanent insurance, there's usually some qualifications that you'd have to get, but it's the better version of insurance because it allows you, which, we will have another discussion about that, to, maybe use the cash value of it, maybe plan for your kids' college expenses, create a retirement plan for you. There's different ways that you could structure a policy in a way that it will be to your specific needs. I try to explain to people that there's so many different ways that you create a strategic plan for yourself. That it's not just something like in a box. You want to be able to choose and be able to have that customized solution because every situation is different. Every person and every family is also different. So there's not just a cookie cutter thing that is, able to help you to get this type of coverage. Now, families need protection. Your family obviously needs protection. And if you don't have your family protected, you haven't even thought about this, right? Because maybe, like, again, you might have said, oh, it's too expensive, the case may be. There's various different options and things that allow you to get at least something depending on whatever situation that you might be in. So here's a great formula for you to write down, and it's called the DIME method. So that's basically your debt plus your income, which is in 5 to 10 years, plus your mortgage, plus any, educational expenses that you may need to encounter for your children. That will give you the total amount of protection needed. So you want to add all of those amounts together, right? What is the income amount that you would need to live or survive off for the next 10 years? How much is your mortgage, right? How much education would you need to send your child or your daughter or anything like that? What is the amount that you want to send? Do you want to send them to a public school? Do you want to send them to a private school? Is it going to be a 4-year? You want to be able to configure all of those amounts and put it together to example the total amount of protection needed. Most Americans are not really understanding when it comes to the total amount because they think, well, oh, I'll just get $100,000. You just choose, a click and buy plan. But you want to be able that you're not actually underinsured in case of something. So you want to make sure that you're at least covered for the next 10 years in case you're not around, your family will be able to survive. So when it comes to, investing, I feel that when it comes to protection, it is an investment, right? In a sense that it's something where you want to commit to being able to putting your money into a vehicle that's going to allow you not only tax-free benefits, but a way that you can maybe have a retirement plan or strategize whatever way that you want to be able to set up your wealth, your legacy, and all of those things. right? So there's 3 different basic choices when it comes to investments. And, you want to be able to put it in a way that it's not only going to help you to grow, but you want to diversify. I know many of you are working and you have different things already at your job and stuff like that. However, there's a lot more options that allow you to grow, right? Your money, that your hard-earned money is not only just being in the bank, but it's a way for you to also be able to leverage different markets so that your money is not only working for you while you're working, but it's actually growing at the same time at a much, much higher rate. So it's very, very important that you not only take your seed of what you're making to invest, but invest it with someone who also knows and understands how and where that you should appropriate the funds to. Okay. And why should you invest for the long run, right? Tomorrow's not promised. But actually, this Genesis quote here is actually one of my favorites too, as well. So to me, it kind of like goes, hand in hand, which is you want to be able to take small portions, right? For right now, it's good. Right now, you're healthy. Everything's working out fine for you, or whatever the case may be. But what about those hard times? What about those times where maybe you might need long-term care, or you might, need nursing home assistance, right? Do you have anything set up for those situations? You want to be able to put yourself and your family in those kind of situations where you have different options in case, something, God forbid, happens to you, or you're not able to speak, or whatever the case may be. You have a way to take in small portions and put it into different little vehicles that can help you succeed for the future. So I also wanted to share with you the rule of 72. And if you've never heard of the rule of 72, this is pretty much what it is. So it's pretty much how much does your investment, for example, let's say $10,000, how much at the rate, which let's say at 1%, it would take $10,000 for it to double. So at the rate 1%, it's going to take 72 years for your money to double. So that means at age 101, that's if you put in money at the age 29, it would take 72 years at that time for it to double. At 4%, it will take 18 years for your money to double. And let's say at age 29,
the cost of purchase is based.
I'm sorry, could you mute your line?
This number down here on the cost of purchase.
Let's hit mute.
And so we would have to put that in. It's based on these 3 numbers, whatever the inspection is going to be and the closing costs. So, and if there were a finder's fee, in this case, there's no finder's fee. Because
so the closing cost is also going to depend on different states, what the transfer tax.
Let me put the thing out here so I could find. Hello, I'm back. Sorry about that. Okay. So the rule of 72. So for the rule of 72, we were at 4%, it would take 18 years for your money to double. At 6%, it would take 12 years for your money to double. So what are we saying here? That same $10,000, depending on where you put it. Now, if you put it in the bank, you're not going to get it to double at that rate, right? You're going to get, the bank's going to give you 2%. But there's other vehicles out there that allow your money to double. At 7.5 years, 10% rate, your money would be doubling at a whopping, let's say at age 29. If you left that same $10,000 in at age 65, your money would be at a whopping $320,000. And all you put was $10,000 in. So that's the rule of 72. When it comes to options for your money to grow, there's actually 3 different options. Fixed. For the fixed rate, that's pretty much when you're putting your money in a fixed vehicle, which could be like the banks, right? You get exactly this, or a CD, 0.001% or whatever that case may be. Variable is pretty much when the money is, you put in a certain vehicle and it may go up and down or up and down. For me, I like to say like variable rates, especially cryptocurrency, things like that. It's kind of up one day, it's down one day, like stocks and things like that. And then there's also the index. So there's different ways that Every time the market goes up, you lock in those gains. And every time the market goes down, you don't lose any money. So that's actually a very, very lucrative option for you to be able to, put your money into that kind of thing where you're just locking in all those gains within your portfolio and you're not actually losing those gains. And we have a lot of options that can actually help you to do so. And we also talk about the market risk, right? So let's say you were to put in $100 into the market and the market went down 50%. How much would you have? You'd only have about $50, right? But if the market went back up 50%, you would have $75. And how did I configure that? The market literally would have to go up 100%, right, in order for you to be able to gain back that $100. So what does that exactly mean? That exactly means, for example, when it comes to stocks and stuff like that, you're like, oh, well, the market went up. I got back my money. No, literally, the market has to go up 100% because if you don't have someone that's actually managing your money, you're actually losing money every day. Even though it's going up and down, up and down, up and down, but it actually takes, someone to be able to buy and sell to be able to put those profits and credit it to your account. When it also comes to, tips for success, all right, here's a few great tips that you want to, write down, which is to make sure to, establish an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of your income to help you to become debt-free. Right? Begin investing with the basic understanding of risk. So you want to be able to understand risk and what are you able to tolerate when it comes to your risk? And being not only a consistent investor, researching companies, understanding, exactly who they are, diversifying for safety. There's different ways that you can put things in different vehicles depending on how much money you have saved. And whether you have your 401k, we have different options that you can roll them over and, use some really amazing tax-free benefits for that. And the way that we do that is we complete what we call a financial needs analysis. So we want to understand your cash flow. What do you have coming in? Like, what are your expenses? Because sometimes people, we use a lot of subscriptions. We forget, right, when it comes to how much is actually going out and coming in. Then you want to establish that emergency fund. And I have to stress emergency fund, right? Because we know how COVID hit. A lot of us weren't prepared. America was not ready for what happened. So you want to have at least 3 to 6 months income when it comes to that and putting aside an emergency fund. And I can show you little ways of how you can do that. Also, your debt management. We have debt management options that will allow you, whether you have student loan debt or, a lot of credit card debt. We have a lot of different programs, forgiveness programs that allow your debt management to be able to be consolidated or figure out a different solution to help you get to what your goals are. If your goals are to buy a house, if your goals are to help someone else to, maybe put them through school or whatever the case may be. And also having proper protection. You want to make sure in case that you are not around, that there is everything that you worked hard for is properly protected. A lot of us, we don't take the time to really assess what we call the estate and knowing how much is the total number of estate, what needs to be done, what is that actual financial independence number. These are different things that you want to know and understand as a working citizen about how you need to structure your household. And also building wealth. So you want to be able to outpace inflation. You want to be able to reduce your taxes and maybe get a professional money manager for your 401k. We have those options as well. And then lastly is building a legacy, right? You want that for generations, for the next generations, they don't have to work as hard as you do. There's options now that you could put in place, right? So that your next generation and your next generation after that doesn't have to work as hard as you do. So I have a little church challenge for you guys, and it's a little 90-day challenge. And hey, if you're up to it, I will cheer you on. So this is what it is. So if you're a beginner, you want to be able to save $500 in 3 months. That's pretty much how much you need to put aside from week 1 to week 12. If you say, you know what, I want to go like intermediate, save $1,000 in the next 3 months. Or if you want to go advance and save $2,000 in the next 3 months. That's pretty much the amounts you need to save from week 1 all the way to week 12, right? And you'll have an opportunity to put this out the way. So that'll be a total where you can be able to take this now and put into a vehicle. This is only if you don't have anything saved. If you're literally like paycheck to paycheck, this is an amazing quick strategy how you can put something aside and then 3 months later, we take that and start putting it for another, vehicle so that you can start growing your money and saving towards your goals. Okay. I also have the evaluation form. Everyone is going to get a complimentary financial checkup to see where you're at. You can schedule at this link here or use your phone to scan it. And that's calendly.com/American Dreamers. And feel free to go ahead and just click the schedule and schedule your complimentary financial checkup. And also, there's opportunity. Where there is opportunity, there's also a way for you to make extra money, right? If you're saying, you know what, this sounds so great. I really love what you do. I want to be able not only to maybe talk to others, but I want to be able to talk to other churches. I have a lot of friends. I know more people that really need to understand this information and start planning for their future. We have great options where you can teach others and also make money at the same time so you can learn, as well as, get licensed and have the opportunity to grow a side income, do it on your own personal time and whatever you like. And if that's something of interest, feel free to also send me an email or book a time on the time slot. I would love to talk to you. All right. So I know I've been talking a little while and it stopped exactly at 7:30. So I'm going to allow to open up the floor for any questions. And it's going to be also moderated by my business partner, which is Kimberly Gilgers. She works very closely with me. And she has done so many amazing things when it comes to working on Wall Street and all of that. So any questions that you have, feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Yeah, Brother Cleon Long has a question. Go ahead, Brother Cleon. Unmute yourself and ask your question.
Okay. Thank you, Nikki. I appreciate that that presentation. So I know a lot of times with the permanent life insurance, agents will sell it as the cash vehicle. So if you're looking at it, considering the cash portion of it for like your child's future education, would you also consider paying back that cash value? I mean, the insurance is still be intact, but you just no longer have the cash value set aside.
So hi, Cleon. This is Kimberly Gilgers, and I'm going to moderate the question. So it's a great question, actually. I'm glad you asked it. A lot of people don't realize that you can leverage the cash value of a permanent policy for things like education, as you outlined. The question you asked is whether or not you should be paying it back. And the answer is it depends. It depends on whether or not you had that cash value growing for something specific, or was it just for the purpose of putting a child, let's say, through college. You can pay it back, and the benefits of paying it back are that then that cash value is available to you again in future years. But if you choose not to pay it back, depending on the vehicle that you're in, you would be perfectly fine. Not all cash value permanent life insurances are the same. So it's really dependent upon how it is structured. What I often tell people is that we look at what do you want this vehicle to do for you? And if you want it to be a bucket where you could pull money from and not pay it back, we can structure it that way. But if you want it to be something that you could pull money from, pay back, and then leverage it again in the future, we would build it that way as well. So it's a great question, a little complex, but the answer is it really does depend on what your overall objectives are. I hope that answered your question.
It did. Thank you. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have any questions?
Harriet, you can go ahead and unmute yourself.
While we're waiting for Harriet to unmute herself, I'll answer Antonio Mason's question in the chat. And his question was, how soon can you use the money? So the cash value that builds in a life insurance vehicle takes time to grow. So unless it is built specifically to be max funded very early on, you will find that it'll typically take about 5 to 7 years before you could tap into it. So I look at the cash value as something that you're building for long term. Clearly, the sooner you start building out a policy with cash value, then the younger you are when you're able to access it. But a great question. Harriet, you had a question?
No, her hand's been up the entire time. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I see Patricia has her hand up.
Well, let me get this one right before Ms. Lott goes. They want to know, I think you already said this, would they be able to get a copy of the 90-day challenge?
Sure.
I will share it with you, Willard, and I'll send you a copy. You could share with the church. Or you can send me a message directly at nekei@americandreamers.group. I'll also put it here in the chat. You can schedule immediately any appointments also through the Calendly link. And I will go ahead. Everyone who attended, I'll also be reaching out to you as Dr. Willard will be sharing the list with me if you haven't. But if you want to go ahead and just, be proactive, here's the Calendly link. I just set that there. And here is my email for those who want to take the challenge, because I want to be able to keep you accountable, right? If you say you're going to put some money aside, I want to see you do it, right? So please, I definitely want to know that you're willing to take that 90-day challenge. And I want to support you along that way.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Johnson. Sorry about that.
You got to unmute yourself, Ms. Patricia.
Yeah. Is that okay now? Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Pastor Maxwell and all the presenters. My question, I want to ask it, but I would like for you to maybe do it at the end, because I'm so excited to see so many young people on, 40 and under, seemingly. I will be 70 in a couple of months. And so and I thought I had done very well and retired and pretty nice income and on and on. But now my focus is changing because my family dynamics are changing, a grandchild, great-grandchild, all those kinds of things. So is there anything that I can do at this point in my life to do anything to create more of a legacy for my grandkids, or if I really kind of waited too late?
Well, first, let me just tell you, congratulations on being retired and, doing the things that you've done that has enabled you to retire and stay retired. A lot of times when I talk to people, they get to the point where they're ready to retire, only to find out that they didn't plan, and then they can't retire. So congratulations to you on that.
Thank you.
The answer is yes. Without looking at or without knowing exactly what your financial situation is, I can tell you that there are things that you can do for legacy planning. And I'm really glad to hear that you're talking about that, because, it's all about not just making sure that we're good, but that our children's children are good. And that's something that I tend to see most people don't think about because they're not aware of it. So there are legacy planning strategies that you can leverage. My suggestion would be to reach out to Nakai, use that Calendly link. Let's set up some time for a one-on-one, and we can talk about what they look like. But you raise that, and I would say for everyone on here, it is something that you need to be thinking about when you're younger. Oftentimes we wait too late, and the horse is already out of the gate, and now we're trying to play catch up, and sometimes it is too late. So great question. Is it possible to create a legacy for future generations? Yes, and that's extremely important that we do. So thank you for that.
I will reach out. Thank you.
And I see that Simone Motley put in a question in the chat. It says, if you have profit share fund and are able to cash out at 59, would you advise to take the funds and invest or leave it? Excellent question. So what Simone is asking is, when you are in a either profit sharing account or a tax deferred retirement account, such as a 401k, 403b, 457, that's a deferred comp account. When you reach the age of 59 and a half, Simone, you got to have that half, you have the ability to access those funds without paying a 10% penalty. So the question is, do you leave it or do you roll it? It really depends on, one, are you still in service with the employer or the company that set that fund up for you? If you are still working for them, you may not be able to touch it, okay? If you are able to touch it, Most times, I recommend that you roll it over. The reason why I make that recommendation is because when you are in a company-sponsored plan, the investment options that you have are only a fraction of everything that's available to you. That's one reason. Two, when you are in a tax-deferred vehicle through an employee-sponsored plan, you do not have downside protection, which means that when there's volatility in the market, you could lose some of your portfolio or your account balance. When we reach the age of 59 and a half, actually 55, we're in what I call the retirement red zone. It's where we're getting to the point, we're about to get to the goal of retirement, and you want to minimize any losses on your portfolio. But at the same time, you need your portfolio to continue to grow. One of the mistakes I see that people make is they decide, well, I don't want to lose what I have, so I'm going to go into, here in New York, our municipal workers, they have a fund called a stable fund, which is great. They're not going to lose any money, but it's also not going to grow. And with inflation at 6%, in order for you to make sure that you could stay retired, your money needs to exceed the growth rate of 6%. If you're only getting 3% growth, then it would be a problem. So Simone, my recommendation is reach out to Nakai, set up some time, let's do a deep dive, and we can really help you understand specifically for you what you should be considering. Fair?
Good. And we have a question from Facebook. Ms. Joyce asked, what sites do you suggest to start investments, ones that allow and guide you to invest in various companies?
I love that that question was raised. I don't suggest sites at all. When you are investing, unless you really understand the markets and you study it, these sites, which they're nice because they give you the ability to say, oh, I'm going to buy some stock. But what they don't come with is a licensed professional who can give you guidance on what is best suited based upon your needs. That's one. Two, you don't have anyone that's looking out for your investments. It's all based on you. So if there is a shift in the market and you're at work and you don't understand what caused that shift, you could find yourself either A, missing out on an opportunity, or in a position where you've lost some of your money. But I do suggest that everybody become financially literate or educated so that you can make better or well-informed decisions. Nakai didn't get a chance to share with you, but there's a full literacy program that we have that you can participate in. And if you want to know more about it, reach out to Nakai and she can share that with you. So I hope that answered that question. I'm going to go back to the chats. Antonio Mason asked, can you do a paid-up policy and use the money in the policy tax-free? Great question. It really depends. Here's the reason why. When you have a paid-up policy, the cash value or dividends, depending on the vehicle, whether it's a whole life or whether it's an index or a variable life, those funds that are sitting in that separate account is what's used to pay your cost of insurance. So even though you have a policy that is deemed to be paid up or paid in full, it's the dividends that the insurance company is going to leverage to continue paying the cost of insurance for the duration of your life. Your out-of-pocket is paid up, but the fees, the cost of the insurance has not stopped. They're just using the dividends to pay for it. So that's something we have to look at specifically to give you a clear answer. But I would tell you that if you're talking about paid up policy, it sounds to me like you're talking about a whole life, and the answer would be probably not.
Excellent. I also wanted to interject and add that when it comes to the different types of insurance, we also have a type of insurance that'll allow for the final expense. So when it comes to the final expense insurance, right, Your responsibility is for yourself when it comes to your body and what happens to it at the end of life. You do not want to, leave this expense to your family members to figure out, right? So we literally have policies and an insurance that allow that final expense to be taken care of. The funeral, we have a funeral concierge so that, whatever, if you need extra assistance with planning, that's also included. And also comes with different benefits like, if you need the power of attorney and health directive, we have a lot of complimentary things that go along with that as an added benefit to make sure that, you have that final expense covered. I see there's also, in what instance is a term life policy beneficial?
You want me to take that one?
Sure.
Okay. So first of all, term and permanent insurance, they're both great coverages. It depends on what you want it for. Term life insurance is beneficial for someone who has no coverage and really doesn't have a budget at the current time to be able to afford a permanent policy. So when we come across individuals who know that they need to protect their family, make sure that there's something to handle final expense, and maybe take care of things like a mortgage so that if they pass away, their children don't lose the home, then a term policy can be very beneficial. We use term policies for temporary things that need to be covered. Mortgages, making sure your kids go to school, things that have a known end date. But if you want to cover your life, regardless of how long you live, and we are living longer, then we would recommend that you do a permanent policy. Hopefully that answered that.
Yeah. And Darlene, I saw that you had got disconnected. So I also just I'll just also add, when it comes to the permanent part of the insurance, right, which this is what actually the term doesn't offer, is that you can get living benefits. So this is money that as you're paying into your policy, it's making it's actually the growth depending on what strategy it's allocated in, whether it's S&P 500 or the Hang Seng, right? You can actually access this money now as a part of your cash value policy and access those living benefits, whether you need to buy a house or whatever that may be. There's different strategies where you can access it that it's tax-free, and you basically create what we call the infinite banking strategy, and we teach a little bit on that in our financial literacy courses.
Yeah, and I want to expand on that as well. One of the other benefits that you have when we talk about living benefits are things like long-term care. So, as we age, one of the concerns, and I know you guys are in a different state from me, but one of the concerns is that as we age, we're not always as healthy as we would be when we're younger. And as our children get older, we find ourselves in situations where maybe we can't perform the activities of daily living. There's actually 6 of them. Being able to get up and out of a chair without assistance, bathing, dressing, feeding ourselves, even cognitive. And it's at that point in our lifetime where we find we might need assistance. And what you may not be aware of is to have long-term care, have an aide come to the house. That's your cost. Like that comes out of your pocket, unless you are under a certain income level. So, if you don't meet the income requirements, the state will cover it for you. But let's say you do. Let's say you own a home. Let's say you've retired like Patricia has, and you've got some money put away. When it comes to long-term care expenses, it will be your responsibility to spend all of that down before Medicare will kick in, right? After you've become impoverished, then Medicare will kick in. Nobody wants that. Like, we don't work our whole life to acquire these assets and leave them to our family and to our kids to only have a need and have to give it away either to the state or to spend it all down. So long-term care can kick in there. There's other living benefits as well, such as critical care, chronic care. And this is where you can pull money, as Nakai was saying, out of the policy to cover those expenses. So really, really good point. And then I see someone asked, if someone retires at 65, how can they offset the monthly premium when on a fixed income? So great question. Hopefully that individual has insurance already before they turn 65. It's your age and your health that buys the insurance. It's your money that pays for it. So the longer you wait to get it, the more expensive it is. But here's one of the things, or one of the strategies that I know some of our clients use as they get older. You have children, hopefully in most instances. If you have children, you could ask them to cover the cost. Now, why would we ask our children to cover the cost? If you take out a policy, let's say you have a policy for $250,000, that money is going to the kids. So you're basically saying, look, I can't afford this anymore, but when I'm gone, and we know that's one thing that's guaranteed, the investment you're making in this premium, let's say it's $175 a month, that investment that you're making is going to net you $250,000 tax-free when I'm gone. So there's a choice. If you can help, that's going to come to you when I'm no longer here. If you can't help and I can't afford it, well, I'm going to let the policy lapse, which means that child or children will have to come out of their pocket just to handle the burial. So that's a strategy. It doesn't work with everyone, but that might be a potential solution that you could look at, or I should say conversation that you could have.
Absolutely. And I also wanted to add that, a lot of Americans don't consider being able to retire with the right amount of money. And, when it comes to retirement, it's just that you want to be able to be comfortable and have enough money so that you're still living a type of lifestyle and outpace inflation. We do have customized solutions that allow you to take an income from your cash value policy at certain ages. And we can illustrate that for you depending on, where you're at in your life and what your situation is and what age you plan to retire. These are all things that you need to consider even as a young person, whether, you're in your 30s or early 40s, or you're married or whatever the case may be. You want to kind of have these things already ready. Like, okay, I know if I put maybe $500 away every month, by the time I am age 65, I can take an income of an extra $20,000, maybe to supplement my Social Security, because I know I'm already going to get like $1,000 a month, and I might need only $3,000 or $2,000 a month to live. So you also want to consider those options when planning for your future and also for your retirement needs.
And I don't know how much time you have, Nakai, but I want to ask a question. I just want to kind of get a sense of where everyone's at. So how many of you have ever had an opportunity to sit down with a financial professional and build out a strategy that would allow you to grow, protect, and save your money, achieve your goals, and retire like Miss Patricia and stay retired? Put a 1 in the chat if you've ever had that opportunity or if you've ever done that. I'm just curious. Okay, I see that, Karen. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Wonderful. And I see there's more people putting a 1 in. So that's excellent. So for those of you that have never had that opportunity, you should make sure that you set some time with Nakai to do that. And then for those of you that have, if it's not something that you do every single year, you need to be sitting with Nakai. It's no different than going to get a health checkup. What Nakai does is a financial checkup, and it's something you should do every year because your life is never the same. Our economy is definitely not the same. And now with everything that's happened with COVID and the effects that it's had on our economy, if you're not looking at your finances every year, you may think that you're on track and won't find out until it's too late.
Absolutely. And I'm also just adding in there, I'm just going to add my my contact information once more. If you guys want to reach out to me, if you have any direct questions about booking or you're not really sure how to use the Calendly link, I know some of us are a little old school, right? I've also be able to cover that. So I'm going to share my cell phone. You can do WhatsApp. My cell phone will allow you to just text me on WhatsApp, and then you could also schedule a time to get together and have that one-on-one and do your financial needs analysis. And thank you so much for allowing me to speak today. I really enjoyed it. I hope you guys got a lot of value out of it. And if a question does come up that you're not sure and you're really ready to go to the next level, please reach out to me directly, and I'll be more than happy to assist you. All right, I'll pass it over.
All right, thank you so much, Ms. Lewis. Thank you so much, Ms. Kimberly. Thank you. Nakai, I'm sorry, I've been saying your name wrong for years. But anyway, thank you all so much for being here. And yes, you definitely need to check up every year. Every year, I talk to my financial person. Once I found out that Ms. Lewis was doing it, I wanted to make sure I pulled her in as well, because you always want to make sure, you take care of those people that, came up with you or under you or whatnot. But she's definitely good at what she does, and you can see how she pulled in, even a more experienced individual than Miss Kimberly. So it's always good to have people that you lean on as well. But every year, I make sure I do a money checkup every year. So now, when I first was trying to buy houses, and I was struggling to get $2,000 and $3,000. Now I'm buying $200,000 houses with cash. But it's because I do my checkups every year. You understand? So now, instead of me, if people have credit that's not so well, but they have a significant amount down, I even can own and finance people now. But that's because every year I did a checkup. And one year, when I had my financial person, he said, "Man, who is this so-and-so?" It was a young lady. I spent too much money. I was like, "Dude, you get rid of her, you'll be a millionaire." But I'm just keeping it real. They go through those things. They go through it all the time. And it was a tough conversation. Hey, but I wouldn't have been able to buy a house with cash money if I still was talking to that individual. So at the end of the day, I just had to put it out there, be real. Some things that are so small, when they go through the checkup, they might say, "You know what, I don't want to scare the women away." But, maybe you can't get your hair done every week. Maybe you need to get it done twice a month or once a month. Sometimes it is those simple steps. Are you going to make a decision? Are you going to go on vacation this year? Or are you going to buy an investment property? It's just so many different conversations that you can have. And so I definitely am advocating for these two ladies. Of course, Mr. Kai and Miss Kimberly, they're well versed in what they do. I'd already had a couple of conversations with Ms. Lewis before we got on the call. She talked to me. I was seeing how patient she was, and I was irritated. I just wanted to see how she was with the presentation, even though I already knew her. So I'm just advocating. I'm letting you know. And in 2022, I'm believing for a double portion, for blessings, anointing, finances, careers, opportunities, but we have to do practical things. All right. So love you all so much. If you don't remember her information, just email me, reach out to Reverend Walden, or inbox me, and I'll make sure I connect you all. She's going to send me the 90-day challenge, because I saw some other people on Facebook asking about it. And I will email it to you all who follow me on the group, and I will send your information out to them. They already have your information as far as the Instagram, but when you send me that information, they'll be able to contact you directly when I email it out to those individuals that follow me. So anyway, love you all. Be blessed. Next week, we'll be back to traditional Bible study, but I believe in holistic teaching, because I want to make sure that I not only take care of you spiritually, but want to take care of you in the natural as well. And those practical things that we need to take care of so we can take care of our family. Because it's a shame that a lot of time when we bury people, they're trying to start GoFundMe pages and things of that nature. I want you to be able to go out with dignity and continue to leave a legacy for your family. All right. See you all later. Have a good night. All right. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.